Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome, hello, and welcome to another Thanatos painting stream. I'm Thanatos, also known as Andrew, or maybe I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But the point is, I have been painting Warcry terrain on stream. Not super thrilling, because it's just terrain, but I want to get all this terrain done, and painting is something that I need some motivation for, and it's handy to have folks hang out with me in chat while I do it. So that's what I've been doing. Missed a couple of days last week because of stuff. I'm probably going to be late with tomorrow's stream, so I want to get some stuff done. I'll tell you, I watched a few painting streams in the last week. I watched one of the Battleground regulars, Aaron Maynard, painting on stream, and I watched Amy Frost painting on stream, and I miss painting figures, is what my takeaway was. They were painting very cool minis, and I'm just painting terrain, and it feels like it is a never-ending supply of terrain. It's just, it goes on and on. But eventually, someday, I will be done. You'll recall, if you were watching yesterday, we finished the base coat on this bell tower piece of terrain. It, I think, came out pretty well. It's got lots of fun little details to it. We need to do a wash for that and do some sort of highlighting and stuff. I have this piece of sort of generic wall terrain that I'm working on. You can see we've got a little bit of paint applied to this side of it. And we've done like these little, can't really see it in this light, but we've done little grates there, and we've done the wood on the top. I've got 4 of these to do, and this is the first. So that's gonna be a project that will take a little while. But I'm gonna pause on the large pieces of terrain today, and I'm going to start working on some of the smaller pieces that came with the Warcry demo. So you may recall back when I started doing this stream, I was working on these little pieces. There's a bunch of these little walls that come with the Warcry terrain. I've done 6 of those of various sizes and shapes. But then I've got all of this stuff that I want to do. These are just walkways that work as platforms between the terrain. So, you know, when you put up your terrain, you can make a platform for folks to walk on and snipe down on folks with. So I want to get those walkways done eventually. And then I've got these 2 tiny little walls here. And then I've got these little bits of terrain. There's these little fountains that I started working on. And then I've got a couple of these that are just sort of rubble lying on the ground. I don't think they serve any effective purpose in-game, but I thought they'd be fun to paint. So I'm gonna work on this stuff today. See how much of that I can get done in a single 2-hour stream. Probably a significant amount, because these are, you know, much less surface area than those giant pieces that I've been working on. So I'm going to start out with these 2 pieces, because they're the most practical of these little pieces of terrain. They're something that people will actually use on a regular basis. We're going to use our old friend Oak Brown, probably finishing this bottle off today. This is a well-loved Army Painter war paint that I picked up as part of a kit 3 years ago when I started doing miniature painting. And it is almost done. Once it's completely gone, I'm going to switch over to Vallejo Flat Brown, which I believe is the same color, just a different label. So we'll switch over to that in a little bit. In the meantime, let's finish this one off. that is. This paint is just on its last legs. Probably want to add a little bit of water to that. I'm going to try and prop the eyedropper upside down there to drain the last out of it. And we're going to use good old Citadel medium layer dip brush. My favorite brush, as everybody knows. Someday, eventually, actually, I did say I wanted to add a little water to this, make it a little less goopy. There we go. Someday, we'll be done with all this terrain. Might take a couple more weeks, but that's fine. I've got time. But once we're done with all this terrain, I can start working on the rest of the minis for the Abington Warcry demo. And once I'm done with those, folks can come into the store and get a demo. I'll have to learn how to play this game, which I don't know. I just haven't had an opportunity to get a demo from the people who have read the rules, which are Kevin and Serena and a couple of other folks in the store. Last year when this came out, this is the 2020 Warcry two-player starter kit that came out last year, and as I've said before on the stream, Serena built it very quickly. Hello, hello, welcome. Dave, I don't think you've been in my stream before, so welcome very much, Homebrewed Dwarf. It is good to see you. I'm glad you could be here. I'm sure this will be thrilling. I am painting some very basic Warcry terrain, which is part of the store demo for Abington. I'm actually talking with folks, Derek and Chad, tomorrow, because we're going to be starting work on setting up the demo space. We're expanding our Games Workshop section in Abington, so we're going to be adding shelves and branching out. More water to this because this really is goopy. And then we're going to get rid of the card table, the regular sit-down table that is right by the bathroom in Abington, and we're going to scooch the 40K table, the sort of premier 40K table that's at the front of the store, back a little bit, and we're going to add a smaller demo table, and the plan is for that table to be 4x3 or slightly larger. So it's not a huge table, but it's going to have shelves under where this and other demos will live. We've got a store demo for Underworld, and that's going to live in there. I painted that off stream, but I did paint the Underworld store demo. That was a much less involved painting project because there were only, what, I think like 13 or 14 figures in that, and I didn't really do the terrain. I've got some optional terrain. For anybody who's unfamiliar with Underworld, it is a Warhammer Fantasy variant where you use cards and stuff, and it uses a playfield that's made up of hexagonal spaces. So instead of using a ruler and measuring stuff when you're moving, you're just moving from hex to hex. So it doesn't really use terrain in the same way that most Warhammer product does, most Games Workshop stuff does. But it does have optional terrain you can put over the hexes to sort of illustrate this is a hex that will cause damage if you're pushed into it, or this is impassable terrain, or blocks line of sight. Entirely optional, but I have some of those, so I may paint those on stream when I'm done with all this Warcry stuff. Anyways, those demos are all going to be there. Good morning, Jen. Welcome. Say hello to Homebrewed Dwarf in chat. That is, I believe, Dave Roshinsky, longtime Battleground regular, whom I have not had a chance to hang out with much lately, so it's cool. That's part of what these streams are so nice. It's nice to see folks that, because of COVID, we haven't had a chance to see in the store very much lately. So Jen, today I am going to try to finish some of these small Warcry terrain pieces, because we've got a whole bunch of these, well, not a whole bunch, but we've got, what, 8 of these little pieces to do. And since they're so much smaller than the colossally huge terrain pieces that we've been working on, should hopefully go a little bit faster. So Dave, what have you been up to out in the world? Are you playing around with Strixhaven? I know you were a Magic person more than a 40k person, I believe. I have been opening some Strixhaven cards, but I haven't played any like sealed events or anything with them. Amanda and I built a pair of pre-release decks using our pre-release kits, but we didn't try them out against each other. It's something that I want to do, but we just didn't get a chance to do that yet. And I've been opening a lot, just cracking packs for my Magic collection, because I love opening packs. And Strixhaven is a set that rewards you for opening packs very well. The Mystical Archive stuff is absolutely fantastic. There's a couple of pieces of art that are not great, you know, just not to the same level of quality. I'm looking at you, Faithless Looting. But in general, the Mystical Archive stuff is gorgeous. Hopefully, we should have Japanese set boosters in the store on Friday, so perhaps some folks will crack those in the store and I'll get to see some of the Japanese alternate art Strixhaven stuff in the store in person. That would be nice, because I've seen them online and they look amazing. Man, I feel you there, Dave. You're just trying to pare down the collection and sort. I have an entire unopened box of Call Time, a draft booster box of Call Time, that I need to crack and sort and probably just ditch a lot of the commons and uncommons. And I've got holes in my collection. I tried to get one of every card from every set. I'm not very consistent with it, but I'd like to have one of everything. But since the start of the pandemic, I obviously haven't been drafting, so I haven't had an opportunity to pick up as much as I would like in terms of Magic singles. So pretty much every set in the last year I have holes in my collection. Like I don't own a Great Henge right now, which is slowly climbing in value. And that card is about a year old now. It's weird. Time is weird, folks. Just time feels so fake these days. But we're beginning to have smaller tournaments in the store, which is, moving slowly in that direction. In Abington, we have Modern on Mondays, and in Norton, we have Modern on Fridays, and both of those are very well attended. Just as long as everybody is wearing their masks and practicing social distancing, it's a fairly, we're trying to be as safe as we can. Of course, these are unsanctioned tournaments. Wizards does not sanction any Magic right now, so we're not allowed to have any sanctioned tournaments. We can't use any Wizards promo product. We've got all these promo packs that we've gotten over the course of the year that we can't distribute to winners in tournaments. We're going to be doing a bundle rumble, an unsanctioned bundle rumble with Strixhaven on Saturday in Abington. That is Saturday at 4 o'clock, I believe. But it's not something that the store is really running. It's more something that fans are going to come in and run themselves. I think Derek will probably make a Bundle Rumble poster, or, the plaque, so that we have a plaque to give away, or display in the store, as the case may be. But, yeah, we've not had drafts, like real drafts in the store for a while. We had unsanctioned fan-run drafts, particularly for Time Spiral Remastered, which was so good. Man, I wish we could get more of that. Supply problems have been a thing during the pandemic, and definitely Time Spiral Remastered was a victim of that. Games Workshop is still having supply issues, getting short-shipped on new releases on an almost weekly basis now, which is awkward. And I don't know if that's pandemic production issues, like staffing issues, or if that's Brexit issues, or a combination of the two. It's just an awkward time to be a fan of games, because it's hard to get a hold of things. Come on. Yeah, definitely getting down to the bottom of this bottle. Finish it off today. It has served me well. I have painted so much with this lovely brown paint. I cannot complain that I didn't get my money's worth out of that bottle. awkward thing about painting these particular pieces, these platforms. Mix some water in here. Is that because they are just a single piece snipped off the sprue, like there's nothing glued or anything on this, I have to paint one side and then wait for it to dry because I can't just put it down while I paint the other side. So I'm going to paint one side of each of these now, and then in the second half of today's stream, hopefully paint the other side. So I really want to move more stuff to the done category. Sort of my objective for this week is to try and get some things completed. We're getting there. We're making a little progress. I'm quite happy with the progress I made on the bell tower yesterday. I'm nervous because now I'm at the I have to do a wash on it stage, and Dave, you weren't here for it, but I did a wash on one of the large Warcry terrain pieces, not last week, but the week before, a couple of Fridays ago. And I was in a rush because I had an appointment, so I only had an hour to paint. And I put the wash on very thick, and it didn't come out well. It was not a good experience. So I have to do a wash on that large bell tower piece that I was working on yesterday, and I have to hope that it will come out better than the wash I did on the piece with the large stone head. Because man, that was disappointing. I have to do it. And I mean, part of this whole stream is getting practice and doing things I'm less comfortable with. And definitely doing a wash on a large piece of terrain like that, I have discovered, is something I need practice with. Something I need to do better at. So, I'm gonna do it. I'll probably do it tomorrow, depending on how many of these little pieces I can get done today. Apply some washes tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be, again, a slightly shorter stream and slightly late because Amanda and I are going to the car dealership and she is signing paperwork on her lease of a new vehicle. Her old car was beginning to reach that stage where it was going to cost more in maintenance than it was costing in car payments, and we got good trade-in value on it in spite of it having some maintenance issues, some drivability and safety issues, but yeah, we got really good trade-in value on it. We're using that trade-in as down payment on a brand new car, and that will be the first new car either of us have ever owned. Well, I say own. We're leasing it. So, we don't own it even. But it'll be the first new car in our name that we get to drive on a regular basis. So we're looking forward to that, but it does mean I have to go sign some paperwork tomorrow morning. New car! Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting. But it means I'm going to be late tomorrow with my stream, which is fine. Tomorrow I will attempt to do a wash on that bell tower piece of terrain, and I will try to be more selective in the application of the wash and not just slap it on everywhere super thick, which is the problem that I had the last time. I was in such a rush, and in general, a wash is a paint that requires less precision. I was like, I'm just gonna get this on there. I'm gonna paint this as fast as I can so that I can do what I need to do with the rest of my day. And yeah, it didn't go well. It did not go well. It's fine. We learned a lesson. Eventually I'll return to that piece and try to fix it as best I can. I've been thinking about ways to correct for the overwashing. I'll show it to you folks. I know some of you have seen it, but this is it. This is that head under a staircase, and you can see how shiny it is in the light there. See how it catches the light? It's very glossy. That is because the wash went on way too thick. So I need to do a significant amount of dry brushing on there to sort of tone down the glossiness of it. Not looking forward to it. But lessons learned. We'll get back to it eventually. In other news, Amanda got her second shot yesterday. So we are getting close, so tantalizingly close to being fully vaccinated. I have my second shot on Saturday, so that's not that far away. And 2 weeks after that, we'll both be fully vaccinated. We're gonna have her parents over. We're gonna have a dinner, and Amanda will be able to hug her parents, which she hasn't done. Her parents are fully vaccinated, which is fantastic. You couldn't get shots till yesterday, just qualifying wise. But now they've opened it up to everybody. Amanda was actually looking at local clinics, and there was a place doing walk-in this morning. Like, that's amazing. That really is. Oh, man. We're gonna make it. Some of us didn't, I know. And it's tragic. But I think it would have been worse if we hadn't locked down. If people hadn't been smart, it could have been so much worse. And it was a lot worse in some places. Could have been better. Like, yeah. Anyways, we're gonna make it. And then we'll be able to have regular events in the stores again. Amanda and I will be able to see family. My local family is all making plans for a barbecue. My brother-in-law, sadly, was scheduled last week to get a shot, but he was scheduled for the Johnson & Johnson, and they put it on hold the day before his shot was scheduled for, so he hasn't gotten his shot yet. Soon we'll all be there, though. Just, it's so tantalizingly close now. But Amanda got her second shot. I'll soon get my second shot. Dave, I hope you are able to schedule something now that it's open to everybody. Someday soon, I'd love to do stuff in the store. I don't think we're gonna, like, overreact. We don't want to do, like, oh, yay, everybody's gotten their shots, now let's have a massive barbecue party in the store. But we're gonna have, for 40K players, we're gonna start out with a small doubles tournament, probably capping at like 20 people or something like that. We're going to start drafts up, I hope, of drafts in the store again. We need to think about how we can do D&D safely. We could probably relax restrictions on food and drink in the store. We haven't allowed food and drink in the store for a while, which a lot of people like to come in and spend the afternoon in the store. It's less pleasant for them when they can't eat. Kind of trapped. So it'll be nice to be able to do food and drink in the store again. Just slowly, we're gonna, as carefully as we can, we're gonna slowly return to something approaching normal. So allowing more people to do the things they're used to do in the store. We need to get role-playing back. D&D has been one of those things that there's just no safe way to hang out with a group of 6 to 8 folks that are not in your immediate bubble. And certainly D&D is one of those things where everybody wants to have like a box of pizza, a bunch of soda. It's just the tradition of how D&D works. And it has not been safe to do that. So as more people get vaccinated, we're going to hopefully be able to allow D&D back in the store. I want to start running introduction to D&D games on Wednesday afternoons so that folks who are not familiar with D&D can come in and learn to play and meet some people and start to build that community back up. So, yeah, progress. Just have to be safe, have to be careful. Yeah, Amanda, I think it was really smart of you to take the day off today. After I get my shot, I'm actually taking a week of vacation time. So maybe I'll do more painting streams. I'll definitely play more computer games. I have not played much with my PlayStation 5 since I got it. I don't know, it coincided with me starting to do this stream, which is 2 hours a day, and been busy at work, of course, and Amanda and I have been doing all this car stuff. I just haven't had many opportunities to play with my PlayStation. So, I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time with that. Get back to Cyberpunk. Supposedly they've patched some things, so some things are better and some things are worse. But I want to play some more Cyberpunk 2084. I played it on my PlayStation 4 for a while, but it kept crashing, like hard crashing to the desktop, or whatever you call the home screen on the PlayStation 4. And I was nervous because there were tales online of 2084 bricking PlayStations. Primarily, I think, because they were overheating. Like, it is a resource-intensive game, even in its non-buggy state. And I think it might have been too much for the PlayStation 4. But now that I've got a PlayStation 5, hopefully I can play some Cyberpunk on that. And I don't know, maybe play a little more Valhalla. I pretty much beat Assassin's Creed Valhalla on the PlayStation 4, but it looks so good on the PlayStation 5, I might go back just to do some sightseeing. And I believe next month, the Mass Effect remasters come out. I want to get those. And I think Deathloop comes out next month, which is a cool looking game. And probably one of the last few Bethesda games that'll come out for PlayStation. So, enjoy that. Because now Bethesda is owned by Xbox. Probably not going to pick up the new Xbox anytime soon. Not a fan of console exclusivity. But right now, PlayStation has more of what I want. I do have Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I started playing that on the PlayStation 5. Strangely, my cloud saves for that didn't transfer over from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5. My saves for Assassin's Creed Valhalla transferred well. But Spider-Man, I had to start over from scratch, which was fine because I had forgotten the controls and had to relearn how to do everything. Almost done with this side of this piece. You can see I'm holding it by the little tips here. I just don't want to put my hands in the wet paint as much as I prefer not to paint my fingers. Here. I figured if I did some of these smaller bits of terrain today, I've been feeling kind of overwhelmed by just the sheer amount of painting that I still have to do on all this terrain, and I figured if I do some of these smaller bits, I can just sort of get the satisfaction of having completed something, even if it's a smaller something. Because with all the large pieces I've been doing, it takes a week to get a base coat done, and it means I don't finish much over the course of a week. Maybe get one piece done. I'm like, that's frustrating. I'd like to get more done, but I'm not fast. And I do not have an airbrush, so I can't do these larger areas of terrain that I should probably do with an airbrush. Like, if I could airbrush this, it would be so much faster. That's something I will consider getting for future me to play with. Delicate balancing act here. between having the paint too thick and having it too thin. You can see it sort of beading up a little bit on the primer here. That's definitely a sign there's too much water. I know that for more experienced Warhammer painters, the mantra is always two thin coats. But I'm just trying to get coverage, I'm just trying to get area done, and I don't have the patience to do multiple coats really. So I'm trying to get the paint on thick enough to look good, but not so thick that it's going to be gloppy and get caught in the crevices of the model. The whole point when I get to the wash is to call attention to those crevices by getting the wash down into them, and if they're full of gloppy paint, the wash just won't work. We'll lose detail in the model, and that's never fun. I realize these are the most simple of terrain bits, but that doesn't mean I don't want them to at least look cool. Okay, that's that side done, so contrast that with that where only part of it's been done. Made some progress. Excellent. Let's work on this one while that one dries. A lot more just plain wood on this one. Definitely going to finish off this bottle of paint today. Once I'm finished with this, I can work on some of these little doobers. If I finish this today, I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to get done. As I have said many, many times before, I am not good at gauging how long something is going to take me to do. And there is a lot of surface area to cover on these. These smaller pieces have a fair amount of area. But certainly this requires less precision than some of the things I've been doing, so it goes a little faster in that regard. I'm not just going crazy. I'm not applying this paint without any finesse whatsoever, but I definitely don't have to concentrate as much when I'm applying it. So it's going on pretty quickly. Good. So I've got a lot of area to cover. there's details that I've done on some of these that I don't know if anybody's ever going to notice. Like these logs, I've painted the ends a lighter color. Did the cork brown on the ends of these logs. Once I get a wash on there, it's going to be less obvious. But I don't know if anybody's going to actually notice that when they're playing with it on the table. But I'll know it's there. That's what I always say. I'll know. I'm aware that it's there. Like this is something where nobody needs to have done this much work. This is just a piece of wood that is going to be propped between a pair of platforms so that a model can stand on it and shoot down on the heads of other models. And it does not need a huge level of detail. But I don't want it to be just monochromatic. I don't want it to be just a single big brown hunk. A big old doo-doo on the table. So, I'm spending the time to make it a little more interesting. That will also help it to blend with the rest of the terrain. There's still paint in this bottle. It's still going. I'm impressed how much we've been able to get out of that bottle. Too much water. Too much. These little areas that I'm leaving gray here, those are the twine that is sculpted in here. It's implied that these boards are held together by being tied together by some twine there. And on other pieces of terrain in this set, we've been doing that in a very, very nice Vallejo red color. So that will add some color to these pieces when I get to that, which will be once I'm done with all this brown. All this brown. How long have I been going? Almost an hour. I've gotten one side of one of these done. I honestly thought I'd get more done today. I thought this would go faster. But every little bit that I can do is progress. more paint on these models than there was when I started today, even if I didn't make as much progress as I thought that I would. I made some progress, and that's what matters. Every day, more paint on the models. As long as I do a little bit every day, someday they'll be done, and I'll work on new models. And Amanda and I will have our new cars, and we'll get vaccinated. Every day is a little bit of progress. Every day, something is a little more completed than it was before. I should do some back-end work on this stream. I mentioned yesterday that I feel like a thing you frequently see in streams is a now playing, so that you folks know what music it is that I'm playing in the background here. I mean, in the description of the video, it does say, miracle of sound. But I feel like the right thing to do is to actually have the titles of the tracks in there, so that if you like them, you can find them yourself. Buy them on Bandcamp, which is what I do. But right now, I'm streaming the music from my Apple Music subscription, and Apple Music doesn't integrate well with the system that I'm using for my stream. So if I want to do a now playing thing, that is going to take a little, not a lot of work, but I'm going to have to sit down and I'm going to have to get Spotify set up on this computer and integrate it with Streamlabs. It's not like it's a chore, but it's not something that just happens automatically. I have to go in and do that. So that's another little project for me. Maybe get that done during my vacation next week. I want to spend some time adding some bells and whistles to this stream to make it more entertaining. Because I appreciate you folks coming in and hanging out, but mostly, it's got to get monotonous, because I'm working on these huge terrain pieces, and it's going to reach a point very, very soon where the pieces are these 4 giant generic pieces. There's not even interesting details for me to call attention to. It's just going to be me repeatedly painting the same shapes over and over again. Not thrilling stream times. So, most of what I think people are tuning in for is me just sort of gabbing on about whatever pops into my empty head. So anything I can do to make the stream more fun for the viewers is a huge benefit. As you know, if you were here yesterday, we've got my little gardening game. So you can earn seeds, which currently don't do anything. But if you're bored in chat, you can play the gardening game. I have to play around with my stream bot to make that more entertaining and open it up to do more things. So yeah, little things I want to do to make the stream more fun for folks. If anybody has any suggestions for me, anything that they see in other streams that they feel like this stream needs, send me a PM or just mention it in chat. So I know. There's the gardening. It's going on now. Hang on. I'll join that. Garden with an M. That doesn't work at all. Maybe it seems silly for me to play my own gardening game. Yeah, I definitely need to come up with some fun things to do with those seeds, that stream currency that I have in my Twitch chat bot. Definitely my stream is not a high energy stream. I don't think anybody is coming here to hear me bounce around and scream excitedly. If they are, they're kind of disappointed, because that is absolutely not what's happening on my stream. Occasionally, I guess, I wax philosophic or get angry about politics. That's probably fun to watch, or at least that's what I would enjoy watching. That's my personal preference. Yeah, I came out ahead on that gardening. Remember, if you want to earn seeds in chat, folks, you can also earn them by following and hosting pointless seeds that do nothing right now, but will do something someday. Also, if you have extra seeds, you can give them away to folks in chat, because we have that kind of a chat. It is a giving chat, a sharing chat. I think I gave my mods, which right now is just Amanda, the ability to create seeds and disperse them at will. I'll have to go back in and look at the chat commands that I created with my chatbot, but I'm pretty sure I did that, because I want to foster a community of giving. For anybody who is or watches a lot of streams and is familiar with the Streamlabs chatbot, you may recognize the gardening game here. It is the heist game that shows up in some streams. I just didn't want it to be a heist. I wanted it to be something more collaborative and something more creative instead of trying to create a positive and pleasant experience. I don't think I have the dual ability set up, because it's just not something that I want my viewers to have to deal with. No PvP in my stream. It is strictly co-op. So I am looking forward to our Battleground Games live stream this Thursday. Amanda came by the store this week, and because on Sunday I went in to buy some sleeves and boxes to sort Magic cards. And while we were there, Amanda discovered that we had on the shelf an expansion for Everdell that for some reason we didn't own already. I thought we owned all the expansions that were currently available, but Amanda found one on the shelf that we have not played and do not own. So we snapped that up, and we're going to be playing that on Thursday night's stream. Everdell is so much fun. It's a gorgeous, cute, fun tableau building and drafting game. Less on the tableau building. You're collecting villagers and locations for your little village. And there's not much of a putting the village in a specific order to the game, but it's a fun sort of drafting game that we've enjoyed playing on stream a few times, and I'm looking forward to playing with the new expansion. Amanda did some research after picking up this new expansion, and is thinking about getting some Kickstarter exclusive stuff so that we can have more meeple. One of the things that Everdell has in huge quantities is gorgeous custom meeple, because each of the different colors is a different furry race. There's like squirrels and rabbits and hedgehogs and turtles, and there's all sorts of bonus meeple that were part of various Kickstarter campaigns, and Amanda's thinking about getting some of those to expand our Everdell collection. Definitely one of the things we're looking forward to once everybody is vaccinated is being able to play some of the board games that we've picked up in the last year with friends. We played a ton of Overboss on stream, and that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to play with friends. So we're looking forward to being able to do that. We have the Dune board game that was finally reprinted last year. Right at the start of the pandemic, they finally reprinted Dune, which is one of those mythic board games that everybody has been looking for their entire board gaming life. And we own that expansions, but have not even opened it yet because it really does require more than 2 people to play, and a fair amount of time. It's a more complex game. So once vaccinations happen, that is going to be one of our priorities, is playing Dune. Want to get together with Travis and John and get Battleground Games live, streaming from the store again. We're so close, folks. So tantalizingly close. We're going to be able to do stuff in the store again. Like, Amanda has been in the store probably twice in the last year. Maybe 3 times. But she really has hardly spent any time in the store. She used to come in when I was working and she had the day off and just hang out in the loft and paint on her stream sometimes. She's got a lot of painting projects that she'd like to work on, but she hasn't been in the store to do it. She's welcome to use my painting nook and all my paints, obviously, but I think she prefers painting in the loft at the store. It's a less cramped space. This is, I don't know if you folks saw the picture that I posted to my Discord of my painting nook, but it is very much a tiny corner of a room, and it is somewhat full of stuff. I have quite a lot in a very small area in my painting nook. So Amanda would prefer the less cramped confines of the loft at Battleground in Abington, which is where she used to paint from every other week. So I'm certain that she is looking forward to being able to paint in the store again. She can work on stuff that she wants to paint for friends. She's got several friends who have actually, Sarah the other day, our friend Sarah, was talking about a Marvel minis game that she had kickstarted. Not Marvel Crisis Protocol, which is something that we do have in the store, but some other Marvel minis game. And she was like, I kickstarted it so you could paint it, Amanda. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right, Amanda. This desk is covered with Warcry terrain because that's what I've been working on. And that leaves you very little space for any project that you're working on. So, another benefit to being fully vaccinated would be that Amanda can paint in the store again. Do some painting streams. Those were always popular. She could paint on her stream, or she could paint on the Battleground Games live stream. Thank you, Amanda. Good to have mods. Almost done with this side of this piece, and then while we wait for this and the other platform to dry, I'm going to work on some of the other tiny terrain pieces that I have here. I think she's feeling pretty well, Lobster. All things considered, she's taking the day off to relax and recuperate, but she hasn't been feverish. She's a little achier today than she was yesterday, especially around the injection site, just sore. But it has not really hit her that hard, I believe. I actually saw something yesterday that said that some people who already have antibodies from having had COVID had a more adverse reaction to the, well, not adverse, but a more dramatic reaction to the shots. Just obviously their body recognized the shots as an attacker and went to work fighting it off, which is good. But I'm wondering how many of the people I know of who have had really a rough time after getting their second shot actually had contracted COVID at some point and were unaware of it. Because I know there's a lot of undiagnosed COVID out there. It's part of what's made this thing so hard to fight. It's all the cases we don't know about. I think that is all of that side of this done. So I'm going to put this aside to dry. How long did that take? I started at about 10 minutes of. It took about half an hour to do one side of this. So I'm not going to finish any pieces today, but we're going to make significant progress because we got all of that side of that one done. And we got all of that side of that one done. This side I've already started. So, progress. Yes. So put those aside to dry. And then let's get out my Deck Tan, which is the color that I'm using for all the stone work here. And let's do a little work with that. There, Deck Tan. Shake, 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 shake. There we go. Coffee, 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 coffee. So I've got these little fountains that I was working on the other day. I really don't know what these terrain pieces would be used for, aside from just like set dressing. They're just something to go on the table. I think they're also something to fill out the sprue, because the terrain all came on several sprues, and I'm thinking there's probably, the sculptors are encouraged to use all the space that is available to them. So these little terrain pieces might just be there to use up blank space in the sprue. I've said it before, but I'll reiterate, I am astonished by the sculptors that work on these pieces, because it is such a difficult medium to work in. You're not just sculpting something on an impossibly small scale. And I often wonder if they sculpt on a larger scale and somehow shrink it down. But beyond that, you are effectively only sculpting two sides of that thing. Because when you mold it, it has to come out of the mold, so it has to only really have detail on the front and back of the model. You can have lines down the edges, but you can't have as much detail on the sides, because otherwise it won't come out of the mold. So anything that has to have details on more than two sides has to be more than two pieces. And it boggles my mind how much planning must go into sculpting these pieces. You know, sculpting aside. And these are, you know, cute little set dressing pieces. But somebody spent a ton of time figuring out how to make them and putting cute little details into them. Just so impressive. So impressive. This little fountain is, I think, 3 pieces. So there's this here is a piece. I can't remember. It's been a while since I built it. The entire base is a single piece, so maybe there are only 2 pieces. So this piece here and the base. An impressive amount of detail for 2 pieces. And this little pillar here, you can see it's got a little ring sculpted into it on that side and on that side, which means those would have to be the top and bottom of the mold. And you can probably see I didn't completely scrape off the sprue connector, so there's a connector there. So these sides, you can sculpt a little bit on the side, but you can't, I don't know, it's just, it makes my brain ache thinking about sculpting these pieces. They're so impressive. And for something that's not even strictly necessary for the game, that's even more impressive. one little fountain. Several little details that I want to get in there and do, but I didn't do the inside of the fountain. All right, Lobster, thank you so much for joining me. It was nice to have you here for a little while. And yeah, we'll see you for Amanda's stream. She does story time over at twitch.tv/MerrimanLion. So I want to do something kind of fun with these two little fountain pieces, which is that I'm actually going to put water in them, except it's not going to be water, it's going to be resin. I have some silicone that I can insert in there. Look like water in the fountains. Not because it's necessary, but because it's something I want to try and a technique that I want to get some practice at. So we'll get to that probably later this week or next week, once I've finished all the details on the inside of here. Pour some stuff in there. A little extra level of detail. Completely unnecessary, but definitely something I want to practice, and maybe better to practice on a little piece of random terrain than on something more impactful later. Alright, so that's that little fountain mostly done. I want to do all these little stones. There's some inside there. I want to do something with the bottom of this. You can see there's a couple little bone bits in there. And I think I'm going... I want to do these little rings that are on the sides. A lot of little details. These are just fun pieces to play with, even if they're not something that is really necessary to the game. So cool. Got some progress done on that. Let's work on these little wall segments here. I started work on this yesterday. Some work done on that in the next half hour. So I'm thinking with these, and this will also apply to the generic wall segments, the larger pieces. You can see that this has these brick areas here, these here, between the pillars. I'm going to leave those gray and hope that when I do the wash, and it gets down between the bricks there, it sort of makes them pop. And maybe just a little dry brushing. But that should save a little bit of work. If I can just not do any base coating on those, just leave the primer. That's my plan So these very simple little wall segments are actually several pieces, or at least two. See, all this detail here, this is front and back of the mold there, but then this corner piece here, you can see that it's got detail on this side and on this side. So it couldn't have been done stamped on the front like this. So if you look at the bottom, you can see that that corner piece is a separate piece with front and back of that corner. That's what I'm talking about in terms of what has to go through the mind of the sculptor when they're making these pieces. Even a simple little piece of terrain like this is two separate pieces put together so that you can have detail on 4 different sides instead of only on 2 sides. Contrast that with one of my Tau Psychers. I've got in the wings waiting to be done. I have this Tau Ethereal. He is a single piece of plastic. Well, resin. So he's just a single piece, all one guy. Just snip off some of the spruey bits. So he's a project for future me. I'm gonna get back to working on my Tau. I got him for Tau for Kill Team. He buffs the team. I just haven't played any Kill Team since the pandemic began. So I haven't bothered to paint him. Or even... I mean, there's not a lot of sculpting that needs to be done with him. I just need to snip off the sprue bits. Wall segments look perfectly fine with just the 2 colors. It's just the sort of marble stonework and then the bricks, which are going to be gray. beginning to wonder if my own sanity, I shouldn't take a break from Warcry terrain and work on some Warcry minis. Just because this gets a little repetitive after a while. I want to complete as much terrain as I can, just so that we have additional terrain in the store that people can play with. Always good to have terrain. But I've been doing terrain for several weeks now. There's no particular end in sight. I feel like maybe doing some non-terrain work might help keep me enthused about this whole paint stream project of mine. We'll see how I feel. I want to get some terrain done this week. Excuse me. Oh, gracious. Sorry, chat. I want to see what I can achieve this week, and then perhaps I'll move on to some non-terrain painting next week. Just to break the monotony. Have something more interesting to show for all the work that I'm doing. I'm definitely... So, yesterday I was archiving some of these to my YouTube channel and looking at the progress that I've done. And it was like, okay, yes, it feels a little monotonous and slow in the moment, but I can look at the fact that there was bare plastic with no paint whatsoever on it for many of these pieces just a couple weeks ago. So I started that bell tower piece on the 7th or the 8th of April. So 2 weeks later, it is no longer empty bare plastic, and the base coat is complete. So yes, it's slow, but I can definitely see that I'm getting stuff done. Every day, a little more progress. And that's a good feeling. To look back and see, that's right, those pieces had no paint on them a couple weeks ago. By the end of this week, that bell tower will be ready to be played with in the store. Do these little teeth. I realize that I said these are more likely some form of lightning ball. If you see them in larger detail on some of the other pieces, but dang it, they just look like teeth. For one thing, if it is a lightning ball, it's upside down here. But this little detail that's in the base of these appears in larger detail on the bell tower, I believe. Yeah, here they are inverted, and then there it is in larger detail, so it's like a sort of a emblem of a ball with lightning coming out of it. But where it appears on the base of all these pieces, it just looks like teeth. Got some paint on that little fountain piece. We got quite a lot of paint on those big wooden platforms. Got some paint on this little wall piece. Got some stuff done today. I was kind of hoping when I sat down today that by the time I was done, I would have 6 tiny pieces of terrain completed. But no, that's just not how my painting streams go. I don't get painting done that quickly. But we made progress on several pieces, and that's probably the best I can hope for. There's a little progress every day. And then eventually I'll look back and I'll be like, I can't believe how much I was able to accomplish. Each day, eventually you do start finishing things. When I get to Friday this week, which is, as I've said, finishing Friday, hopefully I'll have several little pieces of terrain I can finish. Move a bunch of stuff to the done column. Won't that feel like an accomplishment? Must have been a sprue there. There's a hole in the model. I must have pulled it away instead of trimming it. No, those. Well, I don't know. It's very satisfying to get paint on things, though. Definitely progress. I think we're getting, we've got a few more minutes. Maybe 10 more minutes. Let's see what we can do in 10 minutes. Tomorrow during my short stream, I'll do the other side of some of these things that I've worked on today. You folks probably can't hear it, but there's some very summer-timey noises coming from outside, lawnmowers and such. It's beginning to feel like maybe spring is beginning to arrive. Kind of fun since over the weekend we had snow. Living in New England, folks. Always an adventure. Go out and water our plants. We have some herbs that we got from my mother-in-law that I have almost completely killed, but I'm trying my level best to keep them from dying. Go out and water those, and I need to make dinner for tonight, making some delicious homemade mac and cheese, cheddar and Gruyere. Nice creamy mac and cheese. So that when I get back from Battleground tonight, we'll have something yummy to eat. Oh, this brush is taking such abuse. I feel like it's in better shape than it was yesterday. I've done a better job tipping it today than I did when I used it last. I still have to decide if I'm going to do anything with these sculpted bits on the pillars here. I guess that's something that I want to spend some extra time calling attention to. Is that a detail that it's worth doing some extra work on? Maybe? I don't know. But you can see these sort of lightning bolts here. sculpted into the bases of these pillars. You can see it in greater detail here. So it's these figures here, sort of a person holding what looks like maybe a hammer with lightning bolts. There's lightning bolts at the base. Do I do something to highlight that relief that's on some of these pillars? I think I probably do, just because it would look cool, and that's sort of my guiding principle is, would it look cool? Then yes, do it. So I may go in and do something with that at some point before we start moving all of these to the completely done category. About 7 minutes left. That means it is time for the daily thank yous. Thank you, folks, for joining me. I have, as always, enjoyed having you in chat to keep me company while I do this. I could not be making this progress without you folks to keep me on task. Like, I know myself. I know myself pretty well by now. I've lived with myself for almost 50 years. And I know that if I don't have a reason to do something, I won't do it. And I want to have this terrain done for the store, but I know if I didn't have, a regularly scheduled time to work on it, which is what these streams are, I wouldn't be making the progress that I'm making. And I know that I wouldn't have a regularly scheduled time to do things if I didn't look forward every day to having you folks in chat keeping me company while I do this. So, yeah, this is the progress that I've made is entirely thanks to you folks viewing me. I really appreciate you being here to listen to me sort of blather on. It was cool seeing Homebrewed Dwarf in chat today. Always nice having folks that I haven't seen in the store in a while show up. So that was awesome. Thank you to everybody who came to hang out this afternoon or this morning or whatever time it is wherever you are while I got a little bit of painting done. And of course tomorrow we'll get more done. Because every day is a new adventure. Every day get a little more work done. And eventually I'll look back on all of this and I'll have these astonishing accomplishments. I'll have these pieces of terrain that we did together, folks. Yeah, most of it is me sitting here, but you're a part of this too. So, thank you all for being here to keep me on task and to keep me company. Thank you especially to my followers. We are slowly approaching our April follower goal. We are currently, at last time I looked, we're still at 27 followers towards our goal of 30 for the month of April. That's not nothing. We started April at 20 followers, right? So, pretty cool. So thanks for the follows. Thanks for the company. Thanks for the chat. Thank you, everybody. You're cool folks. And thank you, Amanda, for banning a troll today. That was excitement. Put just a few more brush strokes on here. We've got a couple more minutes to go. Chores to do, so I can't just keep painting forever, which is the temptation. When I have a project that I'm working on, it's very hard for me to put it down. So it's a matter of momentum, I guess. If I'm actually getting something done, I don't want to stop doing it, because then I'll have to get started again at some point. But at least we all know I'll be here tomorrow. I'll finish the rest of this little tiny wall. Get paint on the rest of that. Other side, those two wooden platforms. And then maybe I won't do washes until Thursday. Do washes on Thursday. And then Friday, finishing Friday, and we'll do highlights and weathering and detail and stuff like that to bring these models from mostly done to pretty much completely done. So yeah, I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern to do a little bit more painting. We got some stuff done today. I feel good about that. Let's quickly review. Just want to make sure that I've cleaned my brush sufficiently. There we go. So, today, we got all this paint on here. So that's some progress there. Looks good. I don't get cat hairs all over it. We finished putting paint on this little fountain piece. There's a few more bits in there that I want to do, but that's looking good. And these two big wooden platform pieces, we pretty much completed these sides. So we have the other sides to do. This one's been started. This one has a lot of work to do. And then we have to do these little bits where they're tied together. But those are moving towards done. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah. So a little progress. Thank you everybody for joining me. I had a terrific time as always, and it was awesome to see some folks in chat enjoying some painting. And I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, be excellent to each other and enjoy doing whatever art it is you choose to do. Bye everybody. See you tomorrow.